Hello, everyone. This is Shane Lynn at MacArthur Museum of Arkansas Military History. And today we're going to look at a few items in our collection. We recently received a donation from the family of Bruce W. Bryce. Now, Mr. Bryce is a native Arkansan, born down in Pine Bluff. He was a businessman in Mississippi and Texas. And unfortunately, he passed away in 2020. But as I said, he was an avid collector of guns and knives, and his wife donated to the museum his collection. And I want to highlight a few of these, which are very interesting pieces. The first one I'd like to show is the Lamat Revolver. And for those who are Civil War buffs, you may have heard of the Lamat Revolver, or maybe gun enthusiasts. The Lamat Revolver was actually a weapon that was used only in the Confederate Army. And it was invented by a Frenchman, Jean Alexander Lamat. And here it is that you can see it. And it's a very unusual revolver because it's 9-shot, and it also is a shotgun. So you can see this piece right down here is a 20-gauge shotgun. The original was a 42 caliber, which is unusual, which was not standard for the time. So for the officers or anyone who owned this weapon, they had to make their own ammunition, their own balls that would fit in the cylinder here. Now, there were only around 2,900 made, and exclusively for the Confederate Army. Mr. Lamat was a cousin of P.T.G. Beauregard, and they sort of went into business before the war, around 1859, to get this patented and made. Of course, the war breaks out, so the weapon is made in France, then shipped through the United Kingdom, and then from there through Bermuda to avoid the Union blockade. Now, there were, besides General Beauregard, there were other prominent Confederates who really enjoyed this weapon. General Jeb Stuart being one of them. In fact, it was said that it was his favorite weapon. Also, General Beauregard's was engraved, and it is my understanding now that it is in the collection at the Civil War Museum in Richmond, Virginia. So that's where General Beauregard's Lamat Revolver is. But some interesting features about this Lamat Revolver. As I said, it's 9-shot. It shoots a 20-gauge bullet, or 20-gauge shells coming out of here, shotgun blast through here. And so the weapon was interesting. It had this way to load it. Turn the cylinder back, and each time it would turn, and then you would load it that way, and then come in that way. So another feature is you can see that when you cock the weapon back, you load here what they call the nipples, put the mercury caps on that causes the explosion. Well, that fires the cylinder weapons here, but how do you fire the 20-gauge shotgun blast here that comes out? And there's a special feature on the hammer that comes down, and then that actually reaches, you see this nipple that is right here. And then when the gun comes down and fires, it hits that, and then this 20-gauge shotgun blast will come out. And so that is the Lamat Revolver. And then you would just turn that back there in its original to the hammer. The few things tells us a little bit about this particular revolver, if you look, if you can see here, you probably can't see very well, but there's writing across there that indicates that it was made in Paris. So it would have been made in Paris, shipped to the United Kingdom, and then shipped through Bermuda to the Confederate States. And we know that this was part of the allotment that came to the Confederacy, because as we said, there were 2,900 made, 600 made it to the Confederate Navy, with another 2,300 or so going to the Army. And this little number that you see right here, you can see that it says 526. So this was, of the weapons made in France, this was number 526, which would have fallen to that category that would have been shipped to the United States. So that's just an interesting piece that we received. We're actually going to have this on display in the museum in the next couple of months in our Civil War gallery, so you can get an up-close personal look at this very unique weapon, the Lamat Revolver, only used by Confederate forces during the Civil War. Our next item that was in Mr. Bryce's collection is a very unique item. Now, this is a knife that was, if you see here, it was made from out of Tiffany's in New York. And what's so interesting about this knife is who it was made for as a gift and who it was given from. The knife was, if you look right here on here, you can see, hopefully maybe not the glare, but it is to James Fisk, by Jay Gould. And it's a very well-crafted knife, like as I said, and we're not exactly sure on the date that it was given to Mr. Fisk, but it was certainly before his death, which was in 1872. So it was given to him before 1872. The name Fisk, James Fisk for folks, has a really interesting story. Mr. Fisk was a financial speculator. There's a story that many of you may have heard about him. He stood by the telegraph to find out what happened at the Battle of Petersburg, not because he was so concerned who won, other the sense that he hoped to be the first one to get the news to Great Britain so he could speculate on the Confederate stocks there. And so he had a telegraph waiting from Petersburg, and he had a ship waiting in Canada. And as soon as he heard that Union forces had broke through and were heading to Richmond at Petersburg, he wired his associate to go. And that meant to get across the ocean as quickly as he could and to speculate to sell up the Confederate bonds before people over there knew that the Confederacy was ultimately doomed and going to lose the war. So he made a lot of money doing that. Now, he and Jay Gould were partners in a very interesting scheme that helped the Erie Railroad. They defrauded or speculated and helped pull a fast one and get rich on a scheme that beat out the Commodore Vanderbilts and some other famous business people of that day. And so Jay Gould was considered a sort of unscrupulous, as well as James Fisk. They made money, lost money, made money. Now, James Fisk was killed in 1872, only 37 years old. He had a scorned love affair, and the partner of that lady shot and killed him. So his life was ended. Jay Gould would live a natural, longer life and die of natural causes. But in today's standards, he's still considered someone who is was a scrupulous business person, but well known in New York circles. So these are some items that came into our collection, which are very interesting, very intriguing, and we were happy to share them with you. It was the LeMat Revolver that you see here. And I would encourage you, there's some very interesting information videos about the Lamat Revolver. There's a number of reproductions that are done, but this is an original one and made between 1860 and 1865. So you can see that. And just know that it's one of only around 2,900 ever made. So it's a very unique item to have in our collection. And then the James Fisk knife given to him by his friend Jay Gould, who are prominent people in American history, business people. And this was a gift. So certainly interesting items to have in our collection. Well, stay tuned in the future for more artifacts that we will be showing and talking about in our collection. Until then, have a good day.